more than anything, I found myself. And I asked my husband last night, I said, dear, I went through so much with you and affairs. Why do you think that I didn't relapse during those times? And he said it's because of my will and the strong desire to be more than I am today, and that would take me back.
Okay, hello, what is your name?
Ricki Townsend.
All right, thank you, Ricki, for doing this. And what is addiction?
For me, not as a professional, but for a person who was in it, addiction is something that took hold of me, and I couldn't be all I really was meant to be.
Let's kind of go ahead and get into your story.
I first now realize that it all started when I was very young through trauma that was never addressed and hurt me deeply, but you bury it to the very bottom of your core. And my trauma was through molesting and attempted rape when I was only about 9 or 10. And no one knew about it but me. And so from there, the trauma also being raised by a mother who did not know how to be a mother and didn't care to be a mother. And so, therefore, never gave emotional help to us or love to us or kissing or hugging. So I went on to becoming a teen that was looking for love through boys. And by the time I was 12, sexually active and involved with a person that my parents hated because he was a different color. And a lot of grounding, and eventually placed in juvenile hall for a few weeks, where trauma there was that my roommate committed suicide. And from there, by the time I was 15, I was still with this young boy that I met at 12 and became pregnant. My family, as much as I fought until the day I went into the hospital, would not allow me to keep this baby. And so they had me knocked out through labor so that I wouldn't hear or see anything. Took my child, and I never held him or was able to say goodbye. So now you've got more of my trauma compounding on all the rest. And went on after my son was born to marry a year later, had another child at 18, and stayed in that marriage, had another child, my daughter, and stayed in that marriage until for about 12 years. And though the whole time, my poor husband had to deal with someone who was never really excited to be in a relationship. I asked for separations and divorces about every 2 years, but came back because of my children, and I really did like my husband. So we divorced in about 1977, and I didn't drink at all up to this point, or was never around drugs. I was a mom, camping mom, a baseball mom. And once I left the situation, once again, I was carrying all that trauma with me. I then had the trauma of leaving my children with my husband, and women just didn't do that back then. Even though we had joint custody and I was with them all the time, I was not going to make my children live in an apartment. So we amicably divorced and are still dear friends to this day. From there, all the partying started, living my youth out, I guess, that I wanted. And Started drinking a little bit, but it was in about 1977, I met a Southern rock guitarist who is very popular in our country still to this day. But he always used to say that I was going to outlive everybody because I didn't drink or do drugs. And about 3 years later, I was in a treatment center. So I met a guy in 1980 that I felt was my soulmate. I have never been that much in love. We dated and then moved in together within a year, and I didn't know him. And he was emotionally abusive and constantly fights. So about a year later, we separated, and that was my spiral. I was so deeply in love with him and hurting that all I did was do drugs, go to work, come home, drink, do drugs for about 6 months. I stole, I lied, I embezzled about $10,000. And I then got so sick and tired of being sick and tired and went on to treatment where that was about 1984. And I found life in treatment. I found that I didn't know who I was until that day. And about 2 years into AA and sponsoring and sponsorship and really going about 5 days a week, 6 days a week, I realized there was a lot more to me because I was still in that relationship. We weren't living together, but still being abused, I felt, and not living my best life, not making choices I felt that I could be making for myself. From there, I started talk therapy, experiential therapy, a weekend experiential therapy with fire, walked on fire, took medical leave of absences and worked with therapists about 5, 6 hours a day up at Harvard Hot Springs, which is clothing optional. And from there, I started to find myself. And even though that was around 1994, I go another couple of years still searching and trying to figure out to stay with him or not. In 1997, he actually came to me after numerous affairs. He wanted to try again, and so we moved in, and the first year was rocky. But since then, he's my best friend, he's my supporter. Um, I couldn't be loved more than I am today by anyone. And that's kind of my story. I love the work that I do. I became a chaplain so that I could help others as a first responder with officers and became an interventionist and became a counselor. And I want to tell you that through all those years of suffering and work, I believe that my heart became even more open, more loving, more kind. And I found my son. He was 30, and I found my son, and we are best of friends. He calls me mom. We're family, and he's a very loving son. And found my mother and I have healed the last couple of years. I am her caregiver. My husband, as you know, he's back in my life as my support. And that's kind of where I live my life. So my life has just turned one whole healing circle. 38.
38. That's amazing.
Yeah. 43 years with my husband, too. I think it was scary, but because of everything that I've done, all the work I've done, I feel I was extremely dedicated to him. But I was sad. Believe me, I cried when I walked out of the hospital sobbing at my husband who was psychotic and wasn't even in his body. But I had a knowing. I just surrendered to the present moment and what was going on. And I took care of every moment as I walked through it because that's what I've learned. Wow, that's a good question. What model? I have so many options that I go to. First of all, someone's really, really in their addiction, inpatient treatment is very good, but that's not the whole answer. AA is the next, the option after treatment, sober living, and these are the things in my experience of all the years have worked. But the key piece that uh, I think a lot of people leave out is therapy. And I'm talking about talk therapy, though, that includes brain spotting and those kind of things. Because after living with my mother all those years, the last 2 years, we have become friends, and I can leave her not feeling hate and resentment. It's a lot of years and of it. And what did it was brain spotting. And it didn't happen immediately the next day. It took probably a good 6 months for the brain spotting to kick in. And then today, every day it is a different day. And I still get a little irritable around her because she remembers things that didn't happen. But she's actually a woman that would never cry, would never say sorry, ever. And actually came to me and told me she was sorry for one of the beatings that she gave me.
Wow. So even she has the ability to kind of
Yeah.
grow and challenge her own resistance toward that.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But I believe it's because of me working on myself and my own kindness, trying to find that. It's not that I changed her in any way. It was that I drew her, like someone once said to me, like I drew my husband, a magnet who wants to be around you because you're the kind of person they want to be around. Gosh, the first thing that comes up for me is what my mentor said to me when I was in a lot of pain and just didn't know where to go. And I was asking him questions. And he said to me, Ricki, you already have those answers within you. You just have to shut your eyes and listen to yourself, and you will come up with the answers. I'm only here to jog you. And so that's how I've kind of lived my life is out there, they don't have the answers for you. You have them within you. And I think it's really important to understand that because if that person who's giving you all the answers leaves your life, um, then who do you have? It's just us. And people will come to you. He told me, my mentor said, people will come to you, Ricki, like a magnet, or they'll leave your life and you won't even know they've really left. So I would say to someone, just dig deep and believe in yourself. And also don't be afraid to walk out and get someone else's ideas. Like, and I'm talking about a therapist, I'm talking about brain spotting, to where they bring you to yourself. They're not telling you what to do or what not to do. So that's what I would say.
Do you ever wonder if you're actually an addict?
Well, first, I have two answers to that, but the first one is, are you nuts? Yes, I am. I am someone that gets addicted to anything, coffee, sugar, and believe me, it's I have to bring all my tools with me to uh, let go of them. Um, second answer to that. I had someone come to me, and I was about 15 years sober, and they said, God, Ricki, you've got 15 years. Don't you think you could have a glass of wine once in a while? And I said to them, no, why would I try and then watch possibly all the dominoes fall if I were wrong? And then I said, what does a glass of wine give me? Um, that a glass of tonic water would give me. So I say, yes, I am an addict and I have no problem staying clean.
I did promise you not a lot of questions. So, the last question I have, we started off with the question, what is addiction? Now the question is, what is sobriety?
Oh my gosh. I just got chills because I've never really been asked that like that, and I feel very emotional when I say, God, it's the beginning of life, of joy, and I don't care what is going on around me. My focus needs to be on feeling joy, because if you can feel joy through all of those things, you actually can come up with ways to live through the pain.
Well, thank you, Ricki, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope it helps one person. All my life, that's what I want to do, is help one person.
Hi, I'm Kenny Hill with Recovery Hill. My intention here is to show the diversity of sobriety. How one finds themselves clawing from bottom is as nuanced as their journey to bottom. And their situation and recovery has the potential to be highly relatable to somebody who is watching. Therefore, I offer the interviewees to have total freedom to express whatever has worked for them, whatever has helped them sustain sobriety. That said, here at the end of the interview, I want to make a quick request so that it wasn't to take away from the interview itself. This request is that you like and share the video. You can subscribe if you want, that's up to you, but at least like and share it so that the content can get to as many people as possible. There is a great capacity and potential for the story you just watched to be able to help out somebody else to begin their story of recovery.